Hello, my name's Simon Parker. I'm the editor of Exhibition News, and I am excited to welcome today, as you can see, from the west coast of the US, and that's one of your photographs, isn't it, Marco?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right, Simon. Yeah.
This is Marco Pardi, and Marco is managing director of Informatech. Marco has fully immersed himself in the tech sort of industry, if you like, and the media industry that goes alongside that for many years. Has become a real specialist in that sector, and as such is really, I think, at the cutting edge of where sort of live meets digital. He's very close to the community, and also it's a very fast-moving community, so he's got some interesting takes on our business, I guess. I'd like to talk to him about a range of things, but firstly, it'd be just good to get a sense, Marco, of what your portfolio now is, because I know it's changed and evolved over time.
Yeah. No, happy to. So it's great to be here always, as always, talking to you, Simon. So currently I run sort of half the portfolio of the Informa tech business here at Informa. And I look after the cybersecurity portfolio, our artificial intelligence and IoT brands, our enterprise IT group of products, and that would include enterprise communications, the Enterprise Connect event that we run, and the media sites, and again all the research under Omdia that cuts across all that, as well as our components and devices group, which is predominantly a research and intelligence business. So it's a variety of horizontal technologies that serve communities around those technology topics.
And then in terms of the kind of proportion of live revenue, let's say, I mean, it's an easy measure, but I mean, presumably there are revenue sources from all sorts of different streams as opposed to just live.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think if you're measuring it today, it's a different number, but on a normal year, so let's go back to maybe 2019, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 15% of it is sort of media and marketing services. About 55% of it is event related revenues. So that would be trade show, conferences, training, delegate revenue, and the remainder being our Omdia research and intelligence business revenue.
Okay. So I guess an interesting place to start would be, and I know that, in many ways we're tired of talking about it, but, we have been through this incredible sort of 12 months of chaos. And I guess you're better placed than some businesses in that you aren't, by those percentages, you're not, 100% revenue, or even, 95% revenue based on live, which a lot of businesses were. But how has that played out within your business?
Well, I mean, listen, it's not. I don't think the story that we would tell here at Informa would be much different than many other events-based businesses or businesses that rely on revenues and profit from the events. But really, I think for us, it started with shock and disbelief, and then hope for when we thought we might come back in 2020. I think the first few months were, and I think it caught us all a little bit off guard, where we were assuming that this would play out quicker than it really did. Not really understanding at the beginning of April, after the shock wore off, that this would be a global phenomenon that would just reach throughout the global community and impact the businesses in the way that they did. And so, it was really starting with, let's plan for coming back. And then, so it was the stop start that everybody experienced, planning to go virtual until we could go physical again. And then I'd say probably somewhere in the third quarter, I think, we realized that this thing was here to stay and have an impact on our business. Thankfully, we had media marketing services and subscription businesses around our intelligence products that allowed us to continue to drive revenues through the group.
Yeah.
And it allowed us to sort of, the overused word pivot to a more digital business. We're now moving to a place where it's less hope and more planning for any circumstance. So I'd say that we are starting to see the beginnings of physical events coming back, the need for them, the desire for them.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I was going to ask you actually. Do you sense that there is a pent up demand for it? I mean, as I said at the beginning, you're very close to your market. Presumably, you're gauging that all the time, and you can. Well, firstly, it's that permission. Can you run shows? And California, you can now. Can you in California?
Well, not really. I mean, in California's been sort of among the most restrictive of states here in the U.S. But we are running events in Florida, starting to come back now in Nevada, in Las Vegas in particular. Texas is sort of open for business without any hard restrictions, and Arizona, you're also seeing events allowed to come back with limitations on the density. So there are areas in the U.S. where we're able to run events, and naturally that's where all of our Q3, Q4 events are being planned for.
Yeah.
But we're anticipating that we will still have a pretty robust digital component to those events.
Yeah.
And it's, I think going to be something that we will want to offer to the short to even long term as part of our value proposition. We do know there's a pent up demand for the communities to get together. In certain communities, it's really community by community. So we have an event in our enterprise IT space around data centers. And the data center event is scheduled for August of this year. It is in Orlando, Florida. So it's a place where we can run a physical event. It's not a massive trade show. So we're talking less than 3,000 or so attendees. And although any event of any number is not an easy thing to pull off these days, but this community is raring to go. I mean, we've surveyed the audience. We're taking registrations. We're taking signups on physical space, and it seems as if this is a community that is very comfortable coming together and really wants to come together. And there's a business need for them to be together to conduct business. So
that sentiment is absolutely vital, isn't it? So without obviously that positive sentiment, then you haven't really got an event. So it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it starts with, as we all know, are you able to run it legally in the domain that you're in? Either the city, the state, or the venue. Are they allowing for events? Once you have that agreed, and there's a plan to run it safely, of course, then it's about the community sentiment, and I think that varies. It varies depending on how local your audience is, what percentage are coming from international destinations, because obviously you can't really cross borders at the moment. So that is a natural reduction in the viable community, and
then you're following the all secure. So I mean, that's
of course
a protocol that Informa were very central in creating. And then presumably there'll be state by state requirements that you'll need to do on a kind of risk assessed basis.
Yeah. And almost every venue now is requiring a safety plan. So you have to submit a plan for how you're going to run the event, even if they're open for business. So the All Secure program, which again is it's been a really a great piece of work, I think, done cross industry, has really helped to create a consistent way to come back to physical in with safe guidelines.
And give that confidence. So it's been obviously like everywhere else. It's been a sort of rocky road. You're feeling sort of a little bit more bullish, I sense, than you were.
I don't know if bullish is the right word, Simon. Maybe optimistic. Maybe optimistic.
Optimistic. Yes, good word.
I think and with each event that is demonstrating how to run physical. And right now, it's sort of more around sporting events, festivals, entertainment. You're seeing large numbers of gatherings that are coming together really outdoors and demonstrating that it's safe to gather. Vaccination rates are increasing, and as we tip, we're not quite at 50% yet. I think in the U.S. we're at 30-something% have had at least one vaccination.
Yeah,
that also gives everybody comfort coming back together, right? So, and I think it's also a demonstration of everyday life where restaurants are opening and people are getting used to being back around large numbers of people, and you can just see that changing the sentiment a bit.
Exactly. Well, right? And it's also, I think that you've served, as you mentioned earlier on, a number of very discrete communities that very well, that you've got good data on and a good insight, and I guess your ability is to be able to read those communities and know when the timing is right to come back, and also, I guess, to innovate during this process as well. So I'm guessing there's been some innovation and some, I'm sure the team would have not been sat on their hands. They would have been really thinking about how they can serve that community in different ways.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and I think it's a prerequisite to being able to now run a product. And I mean, listen, we're all optimistic that we can come back and bring the community back together physically, but thinking about how digital plays a role in that is not going to go away, in my opinion, in the near term. I think it's been one of those things where this pandemic has forced everybody to think about how to offer a valuable digital experience, and we're still figuring it out. We haven't I think really had found the perfect solution, but we have found that you can deliver content in a digital environment in a way that is informational and instructional, and our audience gets value out of it. Similarly, we're figuring out how to bring the vendor, sponsor, exhibitor component, although that's lagging. I think that the technology is still not caught up with what our vendors are used to in terms of getting value out of a gathering. But the hybrid event, which I will admit we have very good plans for, but have not yet proven that it's possible, right? So we've spent most of our time running virtual only events because we haven't been able to run physical, and we still have not run physical at scale, at least here in the US. We've obviously started to run physical gatherings in China and Asia. But the hybrid event, this is going to be the next wave of learnings that come together, and we're going to make mistakes, but you have to listen to the audience. I mean, you have to listen to the community.
And that's what they want. Well, let's move on slightly then, because the other reason I wanted to talk to you was about Blackhat. So Blackhat is an event which obviously I'll ask you to explain, but in cybersecurity, it's a globally recognized brand. It's one that I was, so this conversation started because I was obsessed with the idea of cool brands, because Blackhat for me, I've always looked at very enviously. You sell merchandise, your visitors and your exhibitors are massive advocates of the brand. Right. And it really reeks for me of brand authenticity. It really, the community feel that it's really their event. And I was just wondering how, I'm guessing you agree with that, but two, just explain a little bit more about it.
So I think it's one of those things that we are lucky owners of a brand like Blackhat. I'd say we have owned it for many years now. It's coming up on, I think, 15 or so years that Informa, UVM and then Informa have owned the Blackhat brand, and I think this is a great example of it starting as such a tight community by a person, Jeff Moss, who is the founder, gathering his own people, his own community together, around a topic that they were passionate about. And this event now is coming on 22 years ago, and cybersecurity has been an issue for many years. And so it was this perfect mix of strong community, passionate people, and growing from that core base over time. It of course really took off when cybersecurity became such a huge business topic, and one that was so critical to every organization across the globe, as we've all now been connected through the internet and through the cloud. And so so it was a mix of just strong community that built out from a small core, and shepherding that community in the right way. So, everything that we do around Blackhat, it starts with the community. It starts with listening to the community. We are fully dedicated to hearing the voices of the community, to the point where while we are the owners of the event, we incorporate feedback from insiders throughout the conference, content selection, how we actually run the event is, we have an advisory board where we take their feedback, and so it's very much one where we stay true to the community.
And it was always, I always remember that it was a really strong set of brand values as well, that there are certain things you just wouldn't do, and there are certain things that, so you were,
that's right,
the people that were working on it knew what was acceptable to that community, and they were so in tune with how they would respond, that it kept that integrity. Because I guess there are lots of brands that have been absorbed into corporates and then have not gone that way, should we say, whereas you've managed to keep it authentic and real, and also to grow as well, because if you get those two things right, then bingo, you've got it.
That's right. And again, that's why I say we are the lucky owners. I mean, it is, a strong community, B, a hugely important business topic, and then C, the growth on it has been phenomenal. And it was, I would say, a recession proof, not pandemic proof, but recession proof business that is something that we were lucky to be able to harness the growth. And so we did not over commercialize it, and there have been many points along the way where it would have been very tempting to just have a NASCAR like event where you can just put logos everywhere and over commercialize it on the vendor side. And we've really we've kept a tight control on that, and still been able to maintain a nice growth curve throughout. So have you had consistency? Restrictive, yeah.
Have you had consistency of team? Because I guess it's also about the team and the way that they then operate, and also maintain those standards and that integrity.
Yeah, we have, and I mean, myself and Steve Wiley, who's the general manager and runs the event, have been working together for over a decade on this brand, even through all the different acquisitions that have come in and acquired. So there's been that consistency. We've also maintained a relationship with Jeff Moss. So the founder of the event is still involved with the event. We take his guidance. We check in with him on big decisions. We make sure he's involved on the keynote selection, for instance. Jeff is there to greet the community every year. So it's been great to have Jeff his continued involvement to make sure that we are, we're not deviating from what the community.
And just explain a little bit, because it's got, in a way, the exhibit bit is the lesser part of it, in a way, that you've got training and you've got research and you've got lots of other components that go alongside it.
Yeah. It is a incredibly balanced event from a revenue standpoint. So we have about a third of our revenue is the exhibitor component, or the sponsor component. About a third of the revenue is our conference component, what we call the briefings, and then a third is our trainings business, which is also a very, very important part of the business. The trainings being the sort of full day, 2-day, 4-day, very in-depth training component that go alongside the week of Blackhat. So it's a long event. It's a 7-day event. and we're actually connected to an external event called DEF CON. DEF CON adds a little bit additional benefit for the community coming together. So DEF CON is run by Jeff Moss. It's more of a sort of a free form cybersecurity event. It isn't focused necessarily so much on the commercial cybersecurity market, and it's more focused on the lifestyle of the cybersecurity professional. And so that happens on the second week, and we coordinate with Jeff to make sure that we're always in lockstep, almost like a binary star.
Okay. And is it a transferable model? Because I mean that, it sounds great. It's got that, sort of unique blend of exhibit and also content and training. But is it something that, corporately Informa have said, well, let's do it in, I don't know, brand licensing or something else?
Yeah, listen, it's a bit of the holy grail. We're constantly trying to replicate what we do with Blackhat. It is to a degree, and really, I think, as we've been saying throughout this conversation, it starts with the community. So if you have a strong community who are passionate about the topic, and the topic is important business topic, I think yes, it is. And then it's about how you shepherd that community. I mean, we have another very strong franchise here in the game market called the Game Developers Conference, which exhibit very similar characteristics in terms of the community, how passionate they are, and making sure you stay true to that community as you're gathering them together.
Okay. And I didn't want to trivialize it by saying that. I mean, you sell T-shirts, don't you? You sell merchandise, and I've seen even within UBM, people were proudly wearing all of their Blackhat kit and stickers and whatever you want to say. I mean, it really gets to that level of engagement, doesn't it?
It's one of the busiest areas of our demonstration or exhibition, and in fact, even during the last year's virtual event, we had an online store and sold loads of merchandise. It was pretty cool to see.
And I can't think of any other brand. I'm sure somebody will sort of write in or phone in or whatever and say that there is, but I can't think of anybody that does it quite as well. Well, look, I mean, that has been absolutely fascinating, as I knew it would be. You have been an absolutely great guest, so thank you, Marco, and thank you for joining us from the lovely west coast of the US.
It's been an honor speaking with you. Glad we could both wear the same uniform today.
Well, that was all pre-planned, obviously, and hopefully we'll be able to see each other soon when we can internationally travel. But thank you, Marco, and that's been an absolute pleasure. So
good speaking with you, Simon. Yeah, take care.
Cheers.
Bye.